Well, white and Latino firefighters in New Haven, Connecticut, claim they were denied promotions as a result of reverse discrimination. Those firefighters claim the city threw out the results of a promotion test because no black candidates scored well enough to qualify for promotion. Now the case goes before the U.S. Supreme Court this month. Joining me now is Victor Bolden. Victor represents the city of New Haven, and it's great to have you with us.
Well,
Victor.
thank you for having me here, Lou.
This case, are you surprised the Supreme Court took it?
Oh, I am surprised. I think this is a case that involves issues. Well, let me say this. One of the sad things is I've dealt with discrimination issues for a number of years, and one of the things I've learned is one has to be very careful when you make charges of racism.
We should point out when you say that you were formerly the general counsel for the NAACP, Legal Defense and Education Fund.
Yes.
Right? So,
I mean, I've had.
I'm just putting in context.
Sure. No, I've had experience with bringing the discrimination suits and also defending against them. And I think it's very, very important to be very cautious when you throw around charges of racism. And I think what you have is a situation here.
Do you think that's the same thing? Is it reverse discrimination the same thing as racism?
Well, I think at the end of I can just make it even simpler. I think one has to be very careful when you throw around claims of discrimination. I think they obviously have a taint in society, so we have to be careful how you walk through and dealing with them. And
there's some people I'd like who are advocates of various causes in this country. I'd like you to talk with.
Well, like I said, you learn things and you try to apply that knowledge, and you hope to sort of use it to
in this case, it seems on one level to be pretty clear. 20 firefighters, 19 white, 1 Latino, take a test in 2003. They scored the highest of those folks taking the test. Not one black firefighter was on that top 15. And at that point, the city effectively threw out the promotion test, and in the almost 6 years intervening, has not promoted a single lieutenant, not a single captain, hasn't administered another test, and that sounds kind of squirrely, doesn't it?
Well, no, it isn't. And what you sort of understand.
Well, why would you give the test in 2003 if you didn't need those folks?
Well, no. I think the important thing is the question of the city was trying to figure out what the right test is. And I think it's very important to understand that the claims and the issues that the city had with the test that was administered is a claim that has been supported by employers groups that represent over 300 major U.S. corporations. We've gotten support from states like Utah and Nevada. We have gotten support from testing experts. So a lot of people have raised questions about the exam. And the problem is the city has an obligation.
What was wrong with the exam?
Well, I mean, the city has a legal obligation to make sure it gives an examination that is not only race neutral, but also gender neutral, make sure we don't discriminate based on age or disability or ethnicity. So we have a host of obligations we have to.
A lot of folks right now are scratching their heads.
No, I understand.
Because it sounds pretty straightforward.
No, it doesn't.
You're going to make a man or a woman, a lieutenant or a captain in the fire department. You want your best, your most highly qualified.
I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question. But the question is whether or not. Hold on, just let me finish. I think the question is, Lou, is whether or not the examination that was administered is going to do the best job that we need to identify who's the most qualified. And those are the questions that we had here. We had a question.
My question then is this, Victor. If that was the point, then why didn't the city come up with a better test? And why on God's green earth wouldn't the city of New Haven have administered an exam following that was race, gender, whatever you want, neutral?
I mean, I think
it looks to me like, if you want to know the truth, just me,
Sure.
It looks like what Monsignor, one of my mentors as a young man, used to call the shit pot of City Hall. It looks like bad local politics.
Oh, well, no, that wasn't the case here. What you had a situation where the city went through a very deliberative process to decide whether or not it should administer this exam. And after going through that process and rendering a decision, having its civil service board, these are volunteer members of the New Haven community who volunteered to listen to all the evidence here. They decided not to administer this exam. After that decision was rendered, the city was then sued. We've been caught in the midst of this litigation. We are committed to.
Wait. When you said they decided not to?
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah, it was a split vote, which meant that the city couldn't certify that exam, and
the fire commissioner himself interfered in the entire process.
There was no interference with respect to the decision made by the Civil Service Board, and there's no evidence that they were improperly influenced. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's very, very important for people to understand. You had, like I said, these are citizens. These are people unpaid. They
Yeah,
come.
unpaid. You mean unpaid by the city?
Unpaid. Yeah, well, they're
I mean,
unpaid
come
by
on,
the city, but
let's
they're volunteer
None of us
their
are
time.
naive about city politics here, and certainly we're not naive about New Haven.
No,
city politics.
well, let me just say this. Like I said, the city's position in terms of deciding not to go forward and promote based on this exam is one
My
that's
question is
supported
very
by other
simple.
organizations.
Why, if the hearts of those folks running the city of New Haven, whether paid or not, if their hearts are so pure, why hasn't there been another exam posted for promotion since?
We're going to obviously figure out the best way to ensure that the most qualified people have those positions.
Been almost 6
no,
years.
I hear what you're saying.
I'm just asking a simple,
straightforward
question.
And I'm telling you, the
Why,
reality
if
is,
there's
hang
not
on.
No, you hang on. I'm asking a simple question.
No, the reality is the city has been caught up in this situation where they're trying to figure out what its legal obligations are.
The poor little darlings are caught up in a situation of their making.
Oh, no, that's not.
They're big boys and girls.
No, that's not true.
Excuse me?
No,
the mayor is not responsible for the city?
No.
Let
me make sure you understand my point. The situation is this: is
good,
that the city?
I don't.
No, that's fine. But let me explain it. The city, once it wasn't able to promote based on this exam, the city was then sued. So the city made its decision not to go forward because it was concerned of being violated of the law. And it was being respectful of federal law. And like I said, that's a position that's been supported by employers, supported by states, supported by a host of groups. And people recognize that that's the right thing to do. And I think you're an individual who's certainly been an advocate for business. And a lot of people in the business community have filed briefs in support because they recognize if you validate the position of the plaintiffs here, which is you don't give flexibility for employers to not go forward on an exam that's problematic. You create a situation, it's a real litigation minefield. And that's what the city's in right now. It's in a litigation minefield where it's not sure where to step, where they might step on a bomb and create a lot of uncertainty and problems.
Well, a lot of the uncertainty could have been created by, for example, not only City Hall politics, but also by a court system in which, in this instance, in this case, after a judge had heard the arguments for 2 years and the evidence presented was replaced as summary judgments were sought by both sides. Frankly, it looks like absolute politicization of the federal court system.
I don't think that anyone had anything, I don't think any of the allegations about how the court system had to make a decision here, really plays a role. But I think the most important
thing. You can say that you don't think. Well, no, but the problem is the facts speak for themselves.
The facts don't speak for themselves in the sense that the decision that was rendered here was a decision that the plaintiffs in this case weren't able to provide the facts sufficient to prove a violation of the law. That's why the case was thrown out. So at the end of the day,
and the appellate court issued a one-paragraph explanation.
Because they understood.
Does that strike you as slightly imperious?
No, it's not imperious. It understood that the bottom line is here that the plaintiffs have not proven a case of discrimination. They don't have the facts sufficient to go forward to even have a trial, and that's why.
So then you believe that the Supreme Court will simply dismiss this case out of hand?
We obviously don't know what the Supreme Court's going to do. They're going to hear the case, and we're hopeful that they will rule in favor of the city, as the other courts have.
How long have you been in the job?
I've been in the job 3 months. I learned fast.
Perhaps the Chief Justice will simply call you up and ask for your judgment on the facts as well as the law.
Well, the city will be presenting its arguments, and hopefully we'll prevail above.
And hopefully we'll see less politicization.
Well, like I said, politics did not play a role in this decision.
They never do.
No, this was a decision made on the facts.
Well, you know what? We're going to, just for fun here on Lou Dobbs tonight, we're going to be reporting on this for quite some time, diligently, frequently, and we're going to find out.
Right,
because it's a fascinating story.
And you find out the city did the job it was supposed to do, and the 5 members of the Civil Service Board don't deserve to be tainted with claims of race discrimination.
Okay, I didn't claim anybody.
No, I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying that's what the case. That's in essence what the case is about.
I think the case is about reverse discrimination. It's
well,
about the worst in city politics, and it's the worst in actually politics in our court system, and that's got to be rooted out.
There are claims of race discrimination.
Victor, we appreciate in your first 3 months you can adjudicate that, but we're going to see what the courts have got to say.
I understand.
It's great to talk with you. Come back
thanks for having me
soon,
here.
and we'll have much more to discuss as this month unfolds.
All right, we have a good evening, Lou.
Thank you, Victor.
Take care now.